All right. Good afternoon, everyone. I hope you're doing well and you're all safe. Okay, so one of the interesting things which is happening in this COVID situation is that there are a lot of people who are playing a lot of games, and people of all the ages are playing games, and they're playing all kind of games across geographies and across regions, and that's a very interesting phenomena which has been noticed recently, which actually has created a big boom into the gaming business, and which is a very exciting opportunity for games and simulation business. Um, just a bit of introduction about myself. My name is Anil Raina, and I have spent a significant amount of time into the gaming, interactive content, gaming and simulation business. And today I want to share with you the opportunity landscape within gaming and simulation business, and a bit about how the market ecosystem works, and also a bit of information about if somebody wants to launch their career in gaming and simulation business, so how to go about it, what are the options there, and what are the choices there from a career progression standpoint. So I will touch base on these three aspects next 40 minutes or so, and yeah, let's begin the show. And just to add on, at present I work with the company Ernst & Young, where I lead the gaming, digital gaming services. But before that, I've also worked with a company, CAE, which is also called CAE Simulation Technologies, where I was managing business for building simulation products for military and civil training. So these are two major experiences I have, which from which I would definitely share some of the insights with the larger bunch of you, and hope that many of you will get benefited from this session, and you can make more informed decisions about your career as you move forward. All right, so let's quickly move on. All right, so what are we talking here? Global gaming market, 200 billion by 2020, which is a huge opportunity. And these projections are given by the people who are, who give us market insights about, and who track all the trends about what's happening in the marketplace. So even in 2019, as we speak, the global gaming business has clocked something around close to 152 or 156 billion dollars, and we'll speak about it in the subsequent slides. But this space has really achieved big growth, and in a very shorter span of time. And so this market doesn't represent uh, the the other adjacent technologies which are still evolving, which is like virtual reality, augmented reality, simulation market, and because those areas are still going through a lot of investment cycles. A lot of companies are making good progress there. There's a lot of investment which is being made into companies who are operating on those new technologies. But gaming standalone is really achieving higher growth there, and there are a lot of opportunities which are coming up. Um, so you can see that on my screen I've together some of the screens, example screens. One is from an action shooter game, another one, very famous Minecraft from Microsoft. The other one is a plant operation, kind of plant setup. Uh, right at the bottom is an example screen of a simulation system wherein um, uh, a fighter, aircraft pilot is getting trained on a simulation system to know and to prepare himself for the war mission or the mission in hand. So you can see that gaming is just not for fun purpose. It has a lot of industrial application as well, and not to forget that in the education space also gaming is being used very extensively as of now. So we'll speak about these genres as we move forward in our presentation. But for now, Looks like gaming is just not fun. It has a lot of industrial applications as well, and other use cases as well. All right. And just to give you a perspective about this $200 billion and summer to that number, if you put the combined industry of music and and uh, and movies across the globe, if you put together all, including the companies like Netflix and Amazon, the kind of movie business they do, um, that combined is much lesser than $200 billion. So meaning that gaming business altogether is huge. It's much bigger than the movies and music business put together. So that's the kind of opportunity we're talking about. And also I want to add that there are 5 billion hours spent by people every week playing these games. That's huge. That's like 20 billion hours every month and close to 200 billion hours every year. So that's the kind of time which is being spent by the gamers all across the globe playing these games, and having fun and achieving higher level of engagement with these immersive experiences. All right. So just to recap on the agenda now. So so we have three things as I said in the beginning, that we're going to speak talk about three areas. One is the growth trends and drivers and what's happening in the game world, and how big are the opportunities. Second is about the market ecosystem. Who are these players, and who are these businesses, right? And what role do they play, from their own value standpoint? And how does one plan their career into games and simulation business? Somebody wants to launch their career into this business, into this market, then how does one go about it? What are the options there? What are the career progression options there? So we'll spend some time there as well. And last but not the least, we'll also go through a question and answer session. I'll try to answer some of your questions to best of my ability, and then I think that should be good. All right. All right. So here I want you to look at games not just for the entertainment purpose. The games are basically, or video technology or video gaming technologies right now used across industries. As I said, gaming is one major segment of it, and again that area is exploding with a lot of opportunities. But there are other areas also. I'm just playing some of the samples which I picked from YouTube for your understanding, so that I can kind of make my point very clear there. For example, this is one of my favorite, the World of Tanks. I play this quite often. Um, and the other two examples are more of, um, flight simulation. For example, um, where the pilot is being trained about on a simulated aircraft, and the controls, which would be you will be seeing there. They're all 3D simulated controls. Even every element of this graphics is 3D simulated. So, and likewise, you can see the upper part. You see a plant operation here. It's some kind of a plant which is basically collecting, showing a lot of operating data, and this can help people to understand how the plant's operating parameters are working, and how people can maybe understand how efficient or this plant is working, and what are the potential problems there, what people need to look at and understand or appreciate uh, from an operational standpoint. So you see that gaming video technology is just not used for not just used for gaming purpose only. It has a lot of industrial purpose also, and well, there are companies who are really applying these use cases in a very effective way, and its applications only growing further. And similarly, at the bottom, you see here, uh, yeah. So you can see the cockpit here. It's all made with synthetic 3D synthetic tools, and the entire environment is simulated. So pilot gets trained using this 3D immersive environment, so that there is no kind of accident there, even if there is some kind of failure, but that doesn't lead to any kind of casualty or any kind of breakage of equipment. So it's all synthetic environment. All the controls are 3D simulated. There's no hardware involved into it. So that makes it kind of very effective for a training purpose, and it has been quite extensively used in military and civil operations. Yeah. All right. So let's talk a bit about the major trends and drivers in gaming business. So as you can see, the mobile is a mobile gaming is really expanding very rapidly with the expansion of mobile handsets. More and more people are able to afford mobile handsets. Smartphones are being getting more affordable, and India has a if you look at example like India, like it has a huge people as subscriber base, or a set of people who use mobile for day to day work. And then gaming of course plays a another kind of it creates an opening for content like gaming on those mobile platforms, which is very easily accessible now. And so as the smartphones get more sophisticated, many of these games people are able to kind of play these games on these mobile handsets as well, which earlier used to be played only on PC and or other consoles, which are very hardware intensive kind of experiences. But now as the mobile phones become more sophisticated, this kind of content is also being people are able to play it on mobile devices as well. So that space is expanding very rapidly again. A few other areas like technological advancement like AR, VR, and shift, which we will soon see, wherein many of the countries would move from 4G to 5G, and also the bandwidth conditions are improving across. You're getting better networks and network support, which is again kind of supporting the game experiences, be it on multiplayer kind of experience or esports genre, which is again a new genre which is coming up, where people participate into the game formats using a format of competition, like any club sports like IPL or other sports. So esports is again very it's coming up very nicely. Again, it's a lot of traction which is esports is getting right now. Again, on the third point, there's a lot of convergence of video gaming, 3D content, data analytics, VR technology. All these things are coming together very, at a very rightful, in a right manner, and which is really creating a scope for people to apply video gaming into not just, for entertainment, but also into, businesses like education, and which ultimately will lead towards creating more products towards spatial web. So till now we have seen our internet, where we have mostly experienced internet content in 2 dimensions, but spatial web is something which we're saying that people would start experiencing content in 3 dimensional space. So and there'll be more kind of immersive reality platforms or tools which will kind of allow people to create have these experiences not just in 2 dimension but in 3 dimensions. So that's these are some of the trends from a technology standpoint, which are happening, which is kind of creating an opportunity for people to create more immersive content, more content which has a lot of video gaming technology into it. Few other things which I have highlighted here. If you look at the cross-platform games, people are increasingly building these kind of cross-platform games, um, um, and also as I said, increasing adoption to the esports, which is a new genre of gaming, where people are primarily playing these games in a competitive sports format, again, which is getting a very major traction here. Um, then from a monetization standpoint also, there are different approaches which are coming up. One is of course an inbuilt advertising in game kind of model, and there are other models like subscription based products, and others are like freemium content, which is basically you get the base version of the game to play, but if you want to kind of explore further features or further content areas, then you got to pay for that. So there are different monetization models also which are kind of working, and people are applying them based on their on their based on the market which they are serving, based on the user base they're kind of catering to. Um, this is an interesting element of the ecosystem, which is basically third party asset available. So if you look at these assets, if I play them, basically uh, there's some problem. Just give me a moment. Yeah. So if you look at these assets, they're like, so these are developed by any developer who would put these assets on a store, and people like you and me can who are into using these assets for their own development purpose, we can just buy them, pay them whatever subscription that would require. So we'll pay them the subscription amount, and then we take these assets and start using them in our own game product. So that way it basically reduces the overall development life cycle of the product, and that eases a whole lot of pain from a product development standpoint. So in this case, it's more of a set which is developed as a dungeon for a game type. In the other one, it's a set of something like based on a concept of a spacecraft. So you can pretty much just go to the store, pick them up, and start using them for developing your own product. Of course, you'll be guided by the end user agreement which these developer would have put across there, and but it's a huge help. It's a huge help for somebody who doesn't have to necessarily invest in building these assets, and they can straight away go, and if it suits their storyline, if it suits their concept, they can start using them. So that's a big help from a from an overall development life cycle standpoint as well. Now this area I'm going to speak about a bit about the game ecosystem. And you can see that I have highlighted different circles here, which tells you about who are these stakeholders, or who are these players in a game product development. So you'll find people who are game engine developers, right? People who provide you platforms, and I'll speak about those platforms in the subsequent slide. But these are people who provide the game engine platform, and there are a lot of them which are already available there. The consumers, of course, people who subscribe to this content or this game kind of game types. And then we have game asset developers. I just showed you a couple of examples there. Third party developers who develop these assets, put them on store for other people to buy them, and so that they can start using them in the game products. Similarly, third party developers who would write some kind of functionality or some kind of components which could be plugged into the game, and to meet some kind of functional requirement of the game. Game reviewers and streamers, people who review the games and post their comments and post their um, uh, provide their reviews. And there are a bunch of others who just stream the games, or who stream their own gameplay. So there are people who just play games. There are other people who just watch them, and there's a whole lot of community who enjoys watching games played by others. So these streamers would either go do a live streaming of their gameplay, or they would record their streaming the gameplays and put it on YouTube or some other places, and which again attracts a huge subscriber base. This is a very interesting phenomenon. I'll tell you a story about it also as we move forward. Um, and then there are other people like people on contract. um, Basically we call them, the new terminology from industry for them is that gig resources, who are there for a short gigs, short contracts. I myself use a lot of people on contract for my own game projects, and but it's evolving to a very robust ecosystem. So this is again kind of adding to the robustness of the ecosystem. So likewise, you have game hosting services like Microsoft Azure, or AWS, Amazon Web Services, who provide you the infrastructure support, and you don't have to really necessarily look at building the IT infrastructure to deploy and host these games. And you can focus on the core product development. And while you have different players, from an asset developer, third party developers, or people on contract, or people who provide IT infrastructure to help you kind of ship your product and make it reachable to the end users. So that's how this whole ecosystem is working right now. And it's evolving. There are multiple other players also who are chipping in. And um, and it's a good, I think it's evolving into a more mature ecosystem now. And people are able to really leverage a lot of good things out of it. uh, if you look at the global and domestic game companies and simulation companies in India. So I just cherry picked few of them. India, in India, I mean, there are companies who have significant presence there. Most of them are international brands like Zynga, Electronic Arts, GSN, Ubisoft, and Berry. These are all big names in the gaming world at an international level. They have their own development centers in India, and huge ones. So again, that also tells us there's huge amount of talent pool available, and where these companies have been able to kind of run their businesses out of India, because they are able to find a lot of good talent here across the competencies which are required there. And few of the other companies like Baiju and Jungli. Baiju is basically an educational content provider, and there's a lot of their content has a lot of gaming approach to it, and that has helped them to kind of get evaluated at much higher levels by their investors, or by their people who have been funding them. So meaning that the game content just not for entertainment, it has its educational purpose also, and where people are seeing a lot of value in that. Jungly, again, a domestic company. I think it's also making a good progress, and we're seeing a lot of traction here for Jungly as well. They make, if I remember, they make games which are skill based, like poker or rummy, and things like that. Uh, Interesting point which I want to highlight here. Few years back, I think 4 5 years back, there were barely 20-25 companies, gaming companies in India, and right now as we speak, there are more than 275 companies in India, big or small. So which is a huge kind of growth story, and it can only get bigger than from here, because India already has a huge subscriber base, and millions of people have mobile phones, and they can access these game content on their phones, and the subscriber base is again increasing from year to year basis. So the big kind of potential there. There's a huge kind of surge there as far as the business is concerned, as far as the talent pool is concerned, as far as the companies which are operating in the space that is concerned. So all these are kind of expanding right now. Again, so global gaming market, we just spoke about it. It's close to $200 billion projected by 2022, and the mobile gaming segment itself is 75 billion by 2020, and I think it would have surpassed 75 billion dollars, because this data is a little old after the COVID situation, where we have seen major kind of uptick in content consumption for gaming market. I think 1775 billion it would have already gone beyond that. So this is the 2019's data, which basically is a spread between three major segments. One is the mobile segment, the PC, and the console based. You can see the larger portion of this business is on mobile devices, and more people are kind of playing game content on their devices, and they're happy about it. And there are reasons for it, because with the advancement in technology, people are able to port a lot of the experience elements which they were normally able to do on a console, on a PC, on a mobile device. So the content is more responsive. It's adapting, to the smaller screen, and it's giving an effective user experience to its end customers. So as a result, more and more people are starting consuming it on mobile devices, and that's what it shows here. Uh, Again, from an ecosystem standpoint, if you look at the game developer and publishers, these are companies who are big names in the gaming world. Not just they do develop games, they have studios or they publish games. If you look at the bottom part, that's a segment where there's a lot of companies who provide software and technology infrastructure to make these games available on the devices. And so there are big names like Sony, Google, Microsoft, Tencent, Amazon, Autodesk, Ubisoft, uh, Zynga. So these are big names, right? So, and they're doing a fantastic job of kind of making sure that this market grows from strength to strength. Uh, so uh, so so this is fantastic. Coming to the gaming segment now, you would have seen people who have played these games. They're all kind of games there, um, and if you want to kind of we just listed them based on the genre types. Some are adventure games, action shooter games. Then there are puzzle games, and then at few places you would see games being more of science fiction. There's strategy games, simulation games. Some people enjoy sports games, which are like FIFA 19 or and so on and so forth. Then the games like Warcraft, which is again a very famous game, very major hit, in that genre. So my favorite is I play more of strategy games. I don't like action shooter games, but that's what my choice is. But then everybody has their own choice. Um, so that's kind of a quick kind of list of the genres which are being supported by different companies there, and some of the titles are listed there. So again, an interesting phenomena, rise of mobile gaming. Again, it has led to the growth in the cross-platform gaming. Why? Because people, it has enabled people to move from PC and console-based game to the mobile platform, because the experience are again getting much better and better. So that is resulting into more and more games moving towards mobile platform, and which is again creating a major growth in from a consumption standpoint. Uh, on the technology side, there's again a major advancement which is happening, especially in the cloud side. If you heard recently, I don't know if you followed the news recently, Google has launched its Stadia game streaming platform, wherein it's basically allowing people to stream game content to their devices. And similarly, Microsoft had its own Project X Cloud, again a streaming service. So cloud infrastructure is basically allowing people to play this game content on their in a more kind of streaming format, and wherein the users don't have to kind of invest to upgrade their hardware to a large extent. Um, so that's how these streaming platforms are working right now, and which actually brings their work, anybody's work online in a quicker manner without bothering about the backend IT infrastructure. So Google's, I know that their Stadia platform, they're very choosy. They haven't built a very elaborate platform, game catalog there, and but there are other services also like Stream, which has a huge collection of games which people can access and play online using their streaming service. So cloud again is giving companies a major push or a major support to bring their work online in a very cost-effective manner. And again, the benefits which I highlighted for users, the benefits like it's platform agnostic, and it allows them to play on any device. From a publisher standpoint, it broadens their reach, and people who are providing these cloud platforms, it kind of provides an opportunity to provide storage and other services to game publishers. So again, that kind of builds to the robustness of the ecosystem in a very effective way. All right, so we are in the last segment of our presentation, which is about uh, how does one choose their career in gaming business. What are the options there? So like any career or any kind of success, the road to success is not straight forward. It has its own bends, and so it has its own learning, and gaming is no exception. So there's no fixed way. I mean, it's not like you start from point A to point B and then you reach to some specific kind of level. So I'll take you to subsequent set of slides, give you an idea about what are the competencies which are involved there, how one can prepare themselves for these competencies, in a step-by-step manner, and then and kind of kickstart their career in gaming market or gaming business. All right, so if you look at I just tried to outline or portray the major competencies which are involved there. So as I said, this is a multidisciplinary field. So right from game technology, game engine development role, where people primarily use C Sharp, C++, and people who build the cloud infrastructure to provide the backend infrastructure support, people who do the game system architecture standpoint, then the people who are into data analytics, people who are into psychology or behavioral science, again, that plays an important role for people to understand the effect of at a cognitive, emotional, and level of from a user standpoint, which helps them to kind of improve the experience for their user. So there's a whole lot of emphasis on learner psychology or behavior science or psychology as an overall kind of approach here. And similarly on the game art, graphic user experience and UX, again, it's a big field. Again, it has a lot of scope to kind of grow in a vertical manner. You will find a lot of people into UX and user experience design who be working in the space with around 10 to 15 years of experience. And then again, a very important aspect of now some things I have kind of very loosely kept here. I have not really decoupled them. Game art is, it kind of further expands into people who are good at illustrations, drawings, and conceptualization and visual art, and further that 3D modeling, synthetic infrastructure development, which is more of people who are good at using tools like 3ds Max and 3ds Maya and technologies like that, and who are good at conceptualizing things, who are good at translating the physical world into a digital representation. Right, so we've seen a lot of artifacts there, a spacecraft, or maybe a dungeon, or maybe an aircraft, or maybe a battle tank. Now, people who can really translate these into ideas into the digital format using 3D technologies, those are people who are required here, who play an important role here. Then there's also scope for people who are into product management, who are basically responsible for seeing to it that the product is taken from concept to the completion stage till it's shipped to the consumers, and further to that from a product evolution standpoint. So these are the various kind of roles one can plan their career around these roles based on their strength and interest areas and passion, essentially. The passion is very important. Gaming is not for somebody who is basically um, who doesn't have passion in gaming. So if you don't have passion in gaming, don't go for it. It's only for people who are really passionate about technology, gaming, and virtual reality, immersive worlds, data, and all those fantastic things. All right, so uh, Again, if you have to summarize the competencies, or the domains, the competencies around major four domains. So you have game system design and development, then you have art and development, then there's a narration design and content. Basically, if you see all the games, they have some kind of stories, they have narration, they have content, um, and there are people who write those stories, who build those narrative elements into the gameplay. So and people who are good at writing, who are interested in writing creative stuff. So these are people who kind of contribute to game work here. Then people who are user experience designers, who look at, who understand the user journeys, who understand customer or user empathy maps, wherein they are responsible for figuring out how does a user play this kind of game, or how do they go about kind of consuming this kind of experience, or so that they are able to achieve heightened kind of an engagement, or attention, or fun uh, from from the end users. So they are the people who design those experiences. Basically, they are experience designers, and they follow a systematic approach in terms of getting the user, understanding the user first, and then designing the products accordingly, so that the acceptance of those products is achieved, and they become more effective. Uh, then there are a few other competencies which have, again, I call them adjacent careers. Game streamers, I have spoken about it. Streamers are people who basically use game streaming platforms to stream, to play the games and stream their content. So there are games like which are basically open worlds kind of thing. You play them and you build your own stories within those games, and you stream those stories. And so there are a lot of people who find it interesting to watch them, and there's a huge following for that as well. um, so that's again another career. People do earn a lot of money there. And similarly, esports I've spoken about. This is an area which is again getting a lot of traction. Even people are talking about making esports as an Olympic event. And the days to come, I think this format is going to get more attention and more growth as well. All right. So now, from an industry job role mapping standpoint, I just listed out some of the roles which you'd find in a typical gaming company. You approach Zynga or Ubisoft or EA Sport, you'll find these kind of roles, which because this is how their organizations are structured, and they are big businesses, big setups, very on a higher scale. So they basically, you will find these kind of roles very easily available there. And again, there would be competencies involved there. For example, 3D designer is just not 3D designers. So within that, you'll find sub competencies like lighting experts, background experts, or people who just do the inorganic modeling or organic modeling. You'll find a lot of information about these roles on internet, and if you're really interested. And but I've just listed here for your understanding that these are the roles which are typically you'll find in any job portal for any of the game companies. All right. So I'll quickly move to my last slide, which is basically a quick reference of some of the things which you might want to explore. For example, Unity 3D engine, which is basically engine which is game engine, and it's free license available for non-commercial usage. But if you're looking for building a game for a commercial purpose, then you'll have to pay some subscription fee there. So some amount of you'll have to you to buy the subscription there. But otherwise, anybody can go there, and download it. There's a free version available. It has full features, and you can start playing with it and dabbling with it. Similarly, Unreal Engine, again, very very effective engine for building game products. And Twitch is something very interesting. So Twitch is basically a game streaming platform. So the interesting story I want to share with you here is that Twitch basically started by I think a group of people. There were not many people, just one or two, And the idea behind starting Twitch was like, somebody thought that, the TV uh, content or TV as a medium is becoming very boring, and it's time to replace TV. So what they did was they started streaming their own life, meaning, this person would go and have a backpack camera, um, and then wherever he goes, he just records it live and puts it on the server, and people would watch it. So this is many many years back. I think, uh, yeah, I think it is many years back. I don't think YouTube was there that time. So this is how this whole idea started, and I mean, it died down because, I mean, after a while, people don't find it interesting. Somebody's just broadcasting their own mundane stuff, like, going to a bathroom or sleeping in the night or having their dinner. There's no exciting stuff about it. I mean, it was exciting for somebody to see, how somebody can really kind of broadcast their own life, which they normally could have done on a TV. But then this is a guy who did it on website. So it created a bit of buzz, and then it died down. And suddenly, what happened? People found that, instead of streaming their own own lives, people started streaming something else, and that something else was gaming. So people started, streaming their own gameplay using Twitch, and suddenly there was a huge surge of people who started doing it, and there was a huge traction there, and the platform became bigger and bigger. Finally, this platform, which was almost, dead, and nobody is really paying attention to it, it was basically sold to Amazon uh, for $2 billion. So Amazon bought Twitch, which is a game streaming platform right now, for $2 billion, and that's the power of, uh, the internet, where people really saw a lot of value in, in this platform, where people are really coming there together, streaming their own content, and people just watching them, and then coming to those websites. So that's a huge success story, and very fascinating one. Similarly, Stream is a portal where people put their work for review purpose, for launching purpose, and you can kind of put your work, and if it's a commercial purpose, you can put your work there as well, and get people to buy your product. And you can also play some free games also there. So Stream is again a good platform. Unite industry event is something, which happens once in a year. It is conducted by Unity, which is a Unity engine supplier, company which supplies a Unity 3D engine. And that's again a very fantastic event where, people from game community across the ecosystem, they come there and share their views and stories. And similarly, Gamer Connect is another platform where people from game community come together uh, once in a year. All right. So with this, I think I come to the end of my presentation. I hope you all enjoyed this session, and I'm very happy to take your questions right now. I'll try to answer, try to answer them. But I hope this session was useful to everyone, and whoever wants to kind of make their career in gaming and simulation business. And I think it's the right time. But as I said, if you have passion for this, then only go for it. Without passion, the chances of success are going to be very less and less. But if you have passion, and if you're really person who really want to, kind of do this kind of stuff, now is the right time. Now is the right time to kind of, build your career into, launch yourself into gaming and simulation business. Thank you so much.